Hello again, everybody. My name's Kurt Conrad, and you're listening to a very special edition of West 4th and Goal, a podcast for high school football fans here in North Central Ohio. We're coming to you from the IdeaWorks podcast studio on West 4th Street in downtown Mansfield. If you're a small business owner looking for a co-workspace, go to ideaworksohio.com and schedule a visit. But you might want to hurry because space is limited. Again, that's ideaworksohio.com. I'm joined, as always, by co-host Noah Jones for this special Championship Week edition of West 4th and Goal.
Dun-na-na, dun-na-na.
Yeah, absolutely. And Noah, you'd never know it by the weather today, but the calendar is flipped to December, and that's generally the time when championship games are held. But I think what everyone wants to know is, have you already decorated for Christmas yet? Or
I'm not really a big decorator when it comes to Christmas. I think I live alone, and so no one ever really sees the inside of my apartment, so I don't really do anything spectacular.
Well, while you were watching the Browns get throttled this afternoon, and full disclosure, we're recording on a Sunday, and the Browns were playing the Texans, and things weren't going especially well from what I could tell.
No, my man Baker threw 3 interceptions before the half.
Yikes.
And I don't think that it's getting any better.
Well, nonetheless, while you were watching that, the Conrads took a trip out to the Christmas tree farm to cut down the Christmas tree. We go to one of those places where they give you a saw and you have to do it yourself. And
it makes you feel way more manly, I think.
It's all part of the experience. That's what I told my son, anyhow. Nonetheless, because of all the rain we got recently, it was a muddy mess out there. And
I'm sure.
I mean, we dressed appropriately. We had boots and jeans and stuff, but there were people rolling in there with tennis shoes and shorts, and they were up to their shins in mud. So it was nonetheless, our tree is up, and we're gonna decorate it a little later today. But no, it's pretty safe to say that despite you and I being in here, this is the largest collection of talent we've ever assembled in the IdeaWorks podcast studio.
I think that's a very adequate statement.
Right,
I think among all the podcasts.
Yeah, absolutely. We are joined by newly minted Mr. Football Cade Stover and the recently crowned Division II state cross-country champ Kyle Johnston. Both these guys are Lexington guys. Thanks for coming down. And Cade, tell us how's that sound? Newly minted Mr. Football.
That's pretty cool. I mean, to be mentioned with all those names, just big time names to be mentioned with. It's almost unfair to them that I'm mentioned with them, but it's pretty cool.
Right on. And Kyle, I mean, Division II state champion Kyle Johnston, and the first boy ever from your school. That's got a probably pretty good ring to it, huh?
Yeah, for sure. And to be coached by Coach Benson was pretty cool, and all her accomplishments. So
right on. Before we get going here and talk a little bit of sports, let's take a minute to thank Two Cousins Pizza. Andy McIntyre and his team at Two Cousins always do a great job. And Andy, if you're listening, you've been approved by Mr. Football in the state in the Division II state cross country champ. They gave you the seal of approval. If you're hungry for pizza, subs, or stromboli, give Andy a call at 419-522-2211 or stop at the downtown location at 103 North Main Street. You won't be disappointed. It's Two Cousins Pizza. It's the official pizza of West 4th and Goal. And now let's jump into it here. Cade, you found out last Monday, I guess, is when you found out. The official announcement wasn't made until Wednesday that you would be Mr. Football. Excuse me. I guess what was it hard to keep it under your hat for those 2 days? I mean, how'd that go?
I mean, yeah, it was hard when people come up and ask me, like, do you still have a chance to win Mr. Football? And I was just like, I don't know. I mean, I haven't heard anything about it yet. So keeping them under wraps a little bit for those 2 days was tough, but once it came out, it was pretty cool.
Kyle, you're his best friend. Did he give you any hint?
He gave me a little notice ahead, which I was thankful for. but he couldn't be more deserving for that. So.
Right. I mean, did you notice anything? I mean, he evidently shared it with you, but I mean, did he act differently when he found out? I mean, is it hard to keep something like that a secret, I guess?
It's obviously a big accomplishment, but I mean, his humbleness definitely showed, his character, and I mean, he didn't really showboat about it. I mean, people knew about it. They said they congratulated him, and he said thank you, and went on with his life. So
Right.
I mean, it's just amazing how he shows that.
And Cade, when we talked, it hadn't been made official yet, but once it was later that afternoon, I would imagine got kind of hectic for you there. I mean, what was it like at school when that news started to leak out?
I was at home actually
Okay.
when it was, so which was probably better than it was being at school.
Right.
But I mean, Twitter, of course, and just being follow requests and everything like that was blowing up. But I don't really pay a whole lot of attention to that stuff anyway.
Right. I would imagine a lot of text messages started rolling in at about 3:30 or 3:45.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
you get any from a certain coach in the Big Ten?
Yeah. They called Coach Meyer called me and
awesome.
Coach Davis and Shiano.
Were they pretty excited for you?
Oh yeah. Very excited.
Now you guys, and I've done some stories on it last year during the basketball run. You guys are, one of you's a high level cross country runner. One of you's going to play football at Ohio State. I mean, that's kind of an odd friendship. Just tell us, Kyle, how'd that all come about? I understand Cade was telling me last week that when you came down from St. Peter's, you guys hit it off right away.
Yeah, fourth grade actually. I wanted to get to know some people, and I was going to play on his basketball. His dad coached a little basketball team that I was going to play on, so got together for a, I guess you'd call it a play date back then. And
Oh yeah.
Yep. And it never, struck from there.
Right. What'd you guys play? Was it basketball back then? Right. I mean, has it always been a very athletic centric sort of thing?
Yeah. Then actually farming got in between us. I mean, we both love it now, thanks to him. So.
Did you have any experience on a farm or anything like that before you started hanging out with Cade?
Absolutely no interest. Then that first day, he showed me around. That's when it was like, all right, I want to do this too.
And Cade, we talked about it. I mean, this is something that you guys would very seriously want to do, down the road once athletics are over. I mean, what is it about that lifestyle that appeals to you?
Oh, I've done it my whole life,
Right.
and then Kyle came over and introduced him to it and stuff, and now he didn't want to do cattle, he wants to do pigs, so
Right.
we're going to balance each other out pretty well if that ever does happen.
Right.
But I mean, it's just I don't really enjoy a lifestyle where I don't like where there's nothing to do all the time. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I have to live. I could never live in the city. It's going to be hard when I go to college. I'm going to be the first couple months. I'm going to be wrecked, homesick and stuff. So.
I thought the I thought the best quote in Kurt's story that he wrote about you getting Mr. Football was from your dad. I think it was the second in the second graph, the nut graph, about how people tell him all the time that you have all the athletic talent in the world, but you'd much rather be doing farming. I thought that was a pretty special and interesting thing that you've said before in your first podcast with us, and I mean, I just think it's funny how.
Yeah.
I just thought that was a cool thing to hear other people say.
Yeah, I mean that's just I've never had to wonder what I want to do when I get older, just
Right.
because I have no doubt what I want to do, whether I make a bunch of money and doing something else on a job, or I'm blessed to go to the league or something like that. But
Now, I was thinking about this the other day. I could see you being a sports broadcaster after your.
Oh God, I don't know about that.
I don't know, man. I think you speak really well, and I think you're an intelligent person, and I think that you know football well enough to be able to be a broadcaster. I just think that's something you should consider in your future.
Yeah, no, I think I'd rather be in a combine running corn somewhere.
Right. Kyle, you and it kind of all dovetails together here. You recently committed to Louisville, is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
Now, I mean, if things work out in a career in professional football, where I mean, he knows where he could go beyond college if he wants to continue to play football.
Mm-hmm.
A high level runner probably doesn't have necessarily those options. I mean, what is there beyond college for runners at a high level for you guys? I mean, is there are there can you do it professionally?
Yeah, the way running works is you have to sign with like a Adidas or a Nike.
Okay.
And that's technically you go professional, and they pay you to run in different events and stuff. I don't see myself doing that.
Okay.
As of now, I'm obviously not one of those runners that's good enough. Got
You
a
will
lot
be,
to work
though.
on. So I've kind of picked a major to kind of build a base for the farm,
Prepare for
money-wise,
right.
and build off of that. Kind of prepare for my future. So
What are you planning to major in?
mechanical engineering.
Oh, okay.
So
And is it agribusiness or is that
Well,
the major? at Ohio
That's
State?
what right now it is. Yeah.
Okay. And I would imagine, and I think we probably mentioned it earlier, but there's probably not a lot of places that offer something like that. Is there nationwide, or is it more prevalent than maybe I think it is?
Like when I took my trip to Oklahoma, they didn't offer anything.
You would
agriculture.
think of all places that Oklahoma would
it's
probably
just, kinda
probably
hard
have
to believe.
that sort of thing available.
Actually, in an open mic podcast, I spoke with a man who goes by the name Cowtown Chad on Instagram and Twitter, and he's a photographer with Cleveland Scene magazine. And
Okay.
he told me that he goes by Cowtown Chad because a nickname for Columbus is Cowtown because it's one of the first agricultural schools.
Oh, okay. But Cowtown's not his given name.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I mean, and it seems, of all places that Oklahoma would have something like that. But I mean, it's awesome that for you it worked out the way it did. That Ohio State, offers that, and then of course there's the football piece. Was Ohio State a consideration for you?
it was, yeah, and I was very pushed by Mr. Cade over there. But Louisville was the better option, and like you were saying with agriculture, I was so set on doing a major in agriculture. But the way it worked out, the offers I got, Louisville just seemed like the best option for me. So,
How do we know if you're a Division I football player, I think all those offers are full rides, as far as I know, for football and basketball. When we had AJ Bluebaugh in here from Clear Fork, he's a D1 baseball guy, but the money is not. It's not a full ride for
I think
for
they
that.
get like a certain number, it's like 8.5 or
Right,
something.
that's how
and
many
coaches
full
have to-
scholarships you get, and then you have to spread
Yeah.
it out. I would imagine that a non-revenue sport like cross country and track, it's kind of the same way. Is that? There's no
Yeah.
full rides for you guys.
yeah, very rarely. I don't know anyone that has gotten one. But I don't know if it's a set number either.
Okay.
Because all of the money comes from the track program.
Okay.
And you can imagine how many events and how many people they're bringing in.
Right.
So what a lot of programs do is they'll look at what you get academically as well.
Okay.
And then they'll base it off of that.
Yeah, there's a whole business of sports scholarships that I don't know a thing about. And
Yeah.
I think it's different at different levels too, because I cover Ashland University football team, and you go over there for signing day, and he has a list of Lee Owens is the head football coach over there. He has a list of like 50 guys he's gonna bring in, and you can't possibly be able to spread that kind of money. I mean, you got to spread it around because you can't possibly be giving those guys full rides. But yeah, it's a whole different world out there when it comes to that. Kyle, you'll be joining someone down at Louisville. Your older brother Ryan runs down there. Just talk a little bit about that. I mean, who'd you stay with when you visited?
I actually stayed with the guy that was his, like he showed him around.
Oh,
Louisville,
okay.
His host, which was cool. So he texted me the night before. He's like, hopefully I can go 2 for 2 with Johnston's. But yeah, I'm excited to get down there with Ryan again. Thought a lot about it. I was like, do I want to do that? Do I want to create my own
Right.
my own story or whatever?
Right.
But I think that's where I want to go, and he's definitely a big role model in my life. So.
Right. I was going to ask you about that because some guys would want to, would look forward to getting down there and hanging out with your brother, but some guys would say just what you did. Maybe it's time to get out on my own and spread my wings a little bit. So you're okay with having an older brother in the lineup with you then, huh?
Yeah, for sure, and it'll help me out. Kind of show me around, show me everything that Louisville has to offer athletically and academically. So
Right.
It's also, it's got to be a benefit to know people down there right away. You
Yeah,
know what
for
I mean?
sure.
Like obviously you'll be a part of the team, but it's
Mhm.
always, even if you weren't a part of the team, it's someone that you can like go to the study hall with
Yeah.
or whatever. You
Yep,
know,
make some
So,
new friends.
Yeah.
Right, and it's been a long time now. I mean, I went to college back in the black and white days, but when you roll in there for the first time, I went to Ohio University down in Athens, and you get there and you don't know a single person, and I would
Right.
imagine it's that's stressful enough, and then for you guys, you're going to play sports at a very high level when it's no longer just about having fun. It's kind of a job. I mean, is it stressful? I guess that transition, or do you suppose it will be, Cade?
As much as I hate to look forward to that right now, it will be.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think knowing the football team and knowing having a bunch of guys that have your back like that and that you work with, it'll benefit you big time.
Right. And we talked last week. You barely the paint will just barely be dried on your graduation ceremony when you head for Columbus. Isn't that right? I mean, you're going to be going down there early in June, or
Yeah, if not June 1st, I think is when I will report.
so much for going to graduation parties, I guess.
Right.
Nah, that won't be any of that.
Well, is it? I mean, would you rather do it that way, get down there and get started right away, or would you like to
yeah.
have a little time? You'd like to do it that way.
I mean, if you have, I'm just excited to get down there and see what they can do with my body and see what they can. I mean, just see what it's all about.
Right. And that's funny because my nephew is Alex Becker, the quarterback over at Hillsdale, and he was thinking about playing football because he's probably a guy who could play at the Division III, maybe the Division II level. Ashland had him in for a visit, and he's not sure if he wants to or not. And I never said anything to him directly, but for selfish reasons, I'd kind of like to see him play at the college level because, the weight program at Division VI Hillsdale High School is not great. I'd like to see him play just to see what he could be, what he could look like when he learns to lift and the nutrition pieces there, and then you learn to run and stuff like that. I mean, as big and physical as you are now, I mean, do you suspect that you're not even going to recognize yourself in the mirror here next to a year at this time?
Yeah, that's the plan.
How about for you guys? What do you guys do? I mean, is there a weight training program for runners at the college level, or how's that work?
Yeah, as far as lifting, it's twice a week, and it's definitely more strenuous than what we do now. But other than that, I mean, it's all obviously running is a lot of conditioning and endurance.
Sure.
So a lot of workouts and stuff like that. So.
What's your brother look like? What's Ryan look like now? Is he a lot different looking here?
He actually looks a little bit bigger, stronger, and he's more of a mid-distance guy.
Okay.
So I don't know how they'll compare me because we're completely two different bodies.
Right.
So I probably won't do as much heavy lifting as him because I'm longer distance. So.
Okay. Cade, could he have been a receiver for you guys?
Kyle could do whatever he wants to do. Whatever he wants to do.
I'm a heck of a long snapper.
He is. He is a heck of a long snapper. He's not joking about that. You peel an apple with that.
Was there ever? Did you ever try to get him? Say, maybe it's your senior year.
I got him to play 5th grade.
Oh, was that right?
Oh yeah. After that, his mom wasn't having it anymore.
Oh, Sherry.
And you guys obviously, and we've talked about it before. You guys are on a really good basketball team, a team that went to the Final Four last year. In Division II, lost to Akron, St. Vincent, St. Mary in the state semifinals. And we've talked about it before, Cade, but Kyle, will ask you. It's you guys are all high level athletes and something else. It's not basketball that you guys are focusing on. How is it that you guys can? Obviously you two. Ben Vor's a guy who's going to pitch at Division I Cincinnati. You guys got a couple guys who could probably play golf in college that are that talented. How is it that all you guys are good in something else, but when you come together, how's that work? I mean, how's the chemistry and all that?
I think it's just. We've been playing together for so long, and we've had high expectations. Since the 4th grade when we started playing basketball.
Right.
We're like, when we get to the high school level, it's our time. You know what I mean? So once you come in and come together with all the same mindset, you take the sports that we're going to college for, and you just wipe them off, and you're like, let's go get the job done.
Right.
So it's a lot easier to come together and make a good tournament run.
Right. And we've talked about it, Cade. Let's get your perspective. What was that run like for you last year? Those were some of the most. That regional tournament was. You guys played 2 teams there that. Truth be told, I'm like, well, this might be the end of the road for the Minutemen because who was the regional semifinals team? Was it Wasion? They had a kid who was going to play D1, and then that Bay Village kid. That kid. Mm-hmm. I think he was a D2 guy, but he might be the best basketball player I've ever seen. The best big man at least around here. Were you guys confident going into both those games that we're just as good as these guys?
To be honest, I think we were. We prepared. The way we were prepared for those guys was unreal that whole week. We knew their strengths. We were going to beat them, and I say this a lot. We've got so many weapons on the offensive end.
Right.
So once we get that defense going and stop what they can do, I think we have a pretty good shot.
Right.
So.
Right. So when that ball's sitting on the rim in the regional final game, what's going through your head?
We lost. I was like, that's a chippy. He's gonna make it. But fortunately, we were blessed to go on. So.
Right, and for the people who don't know, they played Bay Village in the regional championship game, and they had a kid whose name escapes me right now, but
Sunahara.
Yeah, Sunahara, and he was a really talented guy. He had a look from point blank range. He had an offensive rebound and a stick back possibility, and it just kind of, I don't know how it looked for you guys, but it looked to me like it sat up there for about a minute and a half before it finally rolled off the rim. But it was that close, and actually the kid who shot the original shots at point guard, and he was a really good player too. And I thought, well, there it is. At least they'll have a couple of seconds maybe to try and get something, because I thought that shot was going in. It came off, and then this kid misfired, and then Bedlam broke loose, I guess. What was and we've talked about it before, but what's that feeling like for you, Cade? It's got to be just the most thrilling thing in the world.
At that point, I felt more. I was more like relieved than excitement, because you were literally a layup away. He probably should have dunked it, to be honest with you. Yeah. But you're a layup away from going home.
Right.
And then you end up missing it, and now you're going to Columbus.
And not just going home, but going home in probably the most heartbreaking way that you could feasibly go home. And that's what they had to go home with too. So there's certainly two sides to that. But, and then you get down to Columbus, and you're playing St. V, and everyone who even remotely follows basketball knows St. V's tradition here in Ohio. LeBron went to St. V, won 3 championships in 4 years, and after LeBron graduated, it didn't drop off by any stretch of the imagination. They're always a team that got there, and they ended up winning it all last year, didn't they? Mm-hmm. I think they did. But what's preparation like going for that week? What do you know about those guys, and is there ever like a intimidation factor that comes with playing St. V, or do you feel like you can go out there and play with them?
I've always taken an approach to where you're stepping on the floor and you're the best basketball player on the floor, and I think if you think anything else, you're gonna play timid, you're gonna lose. So going out, whether you're playing LeBron, whether you're playing Sunahara or Rotroff, any of those guys,
right.
You got to go out there these guys are thinking that they're worried about you. You're not worried about them. So
right.
If we handle our business and run our stuff to where we know we'll be fine. So I don't think there was any intimidation factor. It was definitely nerve-wracking. There's no doubt about that. But as far as intimidation, I thought we handled. I thought we knew we were going in there and we were going to go get it done.
Yeah, and Kyle, you got. From what I remember, you got hurt early in that tournament run, right? And was there ever a time where you felt back to your normal self, or were you always kind of dinged up there during the run to the state semifinals?
Well, Bossy, I don't know if you guys remember, I had a lot of air balls that year.
Right.
So,
I do remember that.
I was a little dinged up there. Yeah. But the recovery was quick. I felt confident in the St. V game when I came in. That was probably the most I've played in the tournament, coming back from the first game.
Right.
So that's hard to tell, but healthy now. So.
Right. And I would imagine at the end of a long season like that, everyone's. There's no 100% healthy. Everyone's kind of nicked up or dinged up a little bit. That brings us to this year. You guys opened the season just over the weekend here. You won your opener. You fell to Shelby last night. I was covering state football championship, so I didn't get a chance to see him. But just, Kay, talk us through. With so many guys back from last year, what are your expectations? Is anything short of getting back down to Columbus going to do for you guys?
I think any team goal should be win your conference
Sure.
and get to Columbus. So just because we went there last year is what Coach Hamilton and Doc Guth tell us almost literally every day. That no matter what happened last year, we don't get like 20 points for this year for what we did last year.
Right, you don't get a 20-point head start because you're a defending state semifinalist.
Yeah, so as far as that goes, we just this week was the first week we actually got after it in practice, and we felt comfortable again, because coming in from all different sports like that,
right.
And then the football players trying to get their legs back, and then Kyle being in better shape than anybody else combined. It's different.
What is the sort of immediate transition from football to basketball for you, and is it like you don't really get much of a break?
Oh no, I took 6 days off, I think, which helped my body tremendously. So we do that. All the football players usually do, and then you slowly work them, and then you jump back into it.
Gotcha.
The next day you get ready to practice.
And Kyle, you guys, the state cross country championships were postponed a week because the course was underwater, from what I could tell.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, you guys were a week behind. And when I was done talking to you at the state championships after you got down off the podium, I said, "When's basketball start?" And you said Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So, just talk to us a little bit about that. I mean, were you in the gym on Monday, and don't you need to give those legs a little bit of a rest?
I ended up I gave him a week's rest.
Yeah.
Coach Hamilton, both me and Cade wanted to take a week off to give our bodies a rest. But then that next Monday, second Monday, we were in the gym ready to go.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. So.
Is it? Again, a long time ago, I was a cross country runner, and I did it because I was a 5'8" point guard, and I figured if I'm going to play basketball and be 5'8", I'm going to have to be able to go all day. But for me, there was always, even with the cross country base, there was always there's cross country shape and then there's basketball shape, at least for me, and they were two very different things. And that first week of conditioning in basketball was rough, even though I was coming from running several, however many miles a week. I mean, is that how it is for you at that very highest level?
Oh my goodness, yes. People always think I'm in shape, coming into basketball,
Right.
but I mean it is. Thursday opener against Clear Fork, I was huffing and puffing, legs were hurting. Even with the 2 weeks in advance to condition myself, it was not good. So
Right.
It's definitely different. All the sprinting up and down the court,
Right.
It's completely different than long distance running. So.
And no, I still run quite a bit, and actually I unretired from basketball, which probably was a bad move on my part because it's very sad and depressing when you get to be in your 40s and you were a shell of your former self. But I mean, even now, I have a pretty heavy base of miles per week. But when I go and play basketball, I'm two or three times up and down the floor, and I am just absolutely gassed.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so different, those two sports.
Well, as the least in shape person in the room, I can tell you that it is a really, really difficult thing to go from not being in exercise to going to a basketball game where you are stopping and starting like we did on the 4th of July at your buddy's place.
Right. And another terrible thing, and you guys just be warned that when you get into your 40s, it's every rebound I get is on the floor now. There's no jumping, there's no leaving the ground. It is a terrible, terrible, awful thing. So the joys of getting old, I guess.
Let's talk a little football if we could. I've got a couple questions for Cade.
Yeah, we may as well.
So you found out about the Ohio's Mr. Football on Monday, and I know that you probably already had high expectations for your playing career, but a significant, I don't know what the statistic is exactly, but a significant number of people who are awarded this award end up going and playing in the NFL and stuff like that. Tell us a little bit about your emotions that you felt when you won the award, because I feel like it would be sort of a good way to be like, wow, I am as good as everyone has been saying, or whatever. I mean, because there's a lot of hype around you in the media.
I mean, this was the first award that I've actually been like, this is the real deal. Like, this is awesome.
Right.
And it actually felt like emotion behind this. So it's hard to describe the feeling exactly how it was, because it was just more of it was more emotional, like almost broke down, like a little bit, just hearing that, like, I mean, you've came from August 2 days as a freshman to,
Right.
from getting your butt kicked all the time to doing this now your senior year. It just feels like, I mean, that the work now is paid off, but I mean, there's still countless hours left to do.
Sure.
So, and this is just the beginning. I mean, it means nothing when I go to college, of course, but it'll just be a cool thing to look back on your high school career.
Right. And when you look at the list of Mr. Football award winners, I mean, there's Robert Smith, who was a 2-time winner, who had a pretty good career in the NFL, and Charles Woodson, and there's a lot of guys who went on to play. At the same time, there's guys who washed out of college, or guys who didn't even play Division I college football. So I guess nothing is guaranteed just because you're Mr. Football, huh?
Yeah, I mean, just like every other thing. I mean, you go every play like it's your last, and you live every day like it is. And I mean, I enjoy every moment of what I do, and I just make sure I work the hardest I can possibly can, so you don't have any regrets if something does happen.
What do you think getting the award does for the Lexington football program. I mean, obviously it's not it's a public school, you can't recruit, but I think it definitely gives some sort of credibility, at least to the coaching staff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it definitely revolves around, I mean, the town more than it does anything else. It'll definitely put Lexington on the map here a little bit, I think, which is great because, I mean, that's where I'm going to live when I get older. So, I mean, I love Lexington. I love the program. I mean, there's nothing like the basketball program's already on the map. It's been since Fike's been and Sanderson came through. I mean, everybody knows Lexington basketball is. Right. I mean, that's what we do in Lexington. The whole town, everybody's at the basketball game.
Right. But, and we talked a little bit about it last week. I was there was a time when I played on a regional championship basketball team, and the further you got along in the tournament trail, the more people started to come out of the woodwork, and you see people that you haven't seen ever at a basketball game. But I mean, it's not like that necessarily at Lexington because everybody even meaningless games in late December are well attended for you guys. I mean, that's got to be. I mean, you guys can both tackle it, but I mean, that's got to be. That support has got to just mean so much to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you're still going to get the people that come out just like for the tournament.
Sure,
that's just
the nature of it.
That always happens. But I think for the most part, I mean, if it's a home game, we're definitely packing our stands. That's for sure.
What's that mean to you? I mean, Kyle, is it pretty neat to look in the stands even in you're playing a non-conference game in early January.
Yeah. It definitely hypes up the game as well. And they may not realize it, but it makes us want to win even just that much more.
Sure.
To have that many more people there, and I mean, like you said, tournament people are going to be there, which makes it fun as well.
Right. Obviously you're a 4-time, cross-country state qualifier. Is that stage still different though? I mean, is it a different feeling for you running in front? I mean, if you've never been to the state cross country, I mean, it's a pretty neat thing. I mean, you turn the corner and come for home, and there's a very large grandstand at a National Trail Raceway, and it's full. And the wall of sound that must greet you guys coming up that home stretch, it must be something else because I'm usually not far from the finish line, and it is super loud. That said, I mean, it's still, I would imagine there's a different feeling with that compared to running out onto the floor at the Schottenstein Center. I mean, is there differences there, I guess?
That's hard to put into words.
Right.
Both are just surreal experiences.
Sure.
But I can say, like, when the gun goes off at cross country, you lose your nerves.
Mm-hmm.
When you go into a basketball game, you lose your nerves. You're just out there doing what you've worked all year for. So,
right.
And then the noise, I mean, I'd say it's more constant at cross country meet just because you're always running.
Right.
But a big play in basketball, place can get a little loud.
Yeah, it was a little loud at Bowling Green last March when you guys clinched that thing. I mean, that's for your student section can create an unusual amount of noise. It was super exciting.
I have one more question about football, Cade. I was looking at your huddle highlight reel, and there are just so many plays where you just look incredible. I love the ones where you are sort of hopping over people as a running back. That sort of makes me smile. I just think it's so cool. Do you have any? I mean, now that your high school football career is over, do you have any particular moments that you sort of will remember forever that you can talk to us about?
Oh yeah, it actually happened this year. Ashland.
I know exactly where he's going.
Yeah, kid all week long on Twitter. Actually, the same name as me. All week long on Twitter. Everything. Lexington beat Ashland 10 years. Hey, Lexington beat Ashland. Nothing gonna change Friday. We weren't saying anything to him. Nobody saying anything back. He's just tweeting all this stuff, and we're seeing it. And we printed them all out and posted them on our locker room on our pin board on the wall, and pinned them up there. And so this whole week, my whole goal was to get a hold of him one time, and then all the talking will stop. And he did. He ran across the middle, and that was the end of that.
and it's on one of those highlight reels. I've seen it. I mean, and I was there that night. I mean, you could. It just sounds a little different when Cade tackles people compared to most high school kids. But this kid, I didn't know if he was going to get up. I mean, he eventually he hopped up, and I'm sure headed back to the huddle. But man, it was one of those big time hits. And the funny thing about that, and I told people when I was covering the state championship games this weekend, and we were talking about Cade being Mr. Football, and people were talking about those highlight hits, and I'm like, the funny thing is that's not. I mean, that happens twice a game. It's not like he's just putting there's probably a ton of plays that you didn't put on those film just for time's sake. I mean, if you don't want to have a highlight reel that takes 75 minutes to watch, but I mean that's not unusual. And the guys at some of the other media outlets that were there said, yeah, I mean, just from that's the sense that we got, was that, I mean, it's not an unusual thing for him to go out and light guys up. It happens once or 2 or 3 times a game.
Are you the one who does the highlight reels?
Yeah.
You do?
I do.
How do you go about selecting the ones that you think look the best?
Oh gosh. Usually after I do it, actually after I have play like it, I'm like, that's gonna look. You can tell the ones like that's gonna look good.
Okay. Cool.
But,
so you're really banking on the camera rolling at those moments, then?
Oh yeah. If the one actually the Orville junior year had a couple of decent plays, and we actually you get the film of them.
Oh,
Right.
no.
Like we missed 6 of the plays. I told Coach Scheid, my defensive coordinator, I was like, bro, we got to get these. But so we ended up getting them. But I picked the ones that I think that show, speed, physicality, and good technique.
Gotcha.
I covered your playoff game against at Tiffin Columbian this year, a game you guys won. And no, I think I may have told you this, but I just I take my own photos on the sidelines, and I just happened to be. It was an obvious passing situation, so I picked out a Tiffin Columbian receiver. And just kept my camera trained right on this kid, and it just so happened that that's the kid who the quarterback targeted. And in the first, and I'm just holding down the
shooter.
Yeah, the button, and just snapping off a bunch of photos. And when I went back and looked at him later, the first one, the kid's getting ready to catch the ball, and he's completely outstretched. And in the second frame, Cade is just in the corner of the frame, and all of a sudden the kid went from completely outstretched, he started to alligator arm it, and everything got real close to him. And by the time the final frame, I mean, his hands are tucked right beside his, right into his sides, and that's one of the balls that you picked off, because I think the kid was so thrilled. I mean, he was going to catch that thing, he was going to catch it, and he was going to go. And then all of a sudden you showed up in the frame, and he's like, ah. And that's a ball that tipped off his fingers, and you ended up picking off a pass. I think he had 2 interceptions that day. It's just it's weird to me that a receiver is so that they know where you are. I mean, you wouldn't think that they would have anything else to think about except catching the football, but they know exactly where you are, and they don't want to have anything to do with you.
How does recruiting work for you? Are there is it just on a stat sheet, or is there video of you, or do they show up to your meets?
As far as colleges? Or
Yeah.
For running, you kind of have to reach out more than them come to you.
Okay.
And then you got to get your times out there somehow, so you just email them. There's no really site you don't film yourself running and right here look at me run.
Well, I didn't know if technique
nothing
was
against you.
important or
Yeah.
something. I was just trying to be helpful.
But yeah, coaches do come to state meet to see you run. As far as strategy, that's very appealing to them as well. So
do they check Richland Source or other news sites to read about you?
I honestly don't know
Okay.
if they do that or not. I don't really let them know when I have an article out. But
Gotcha.
maybe not. I have no clue.
And you would certainly know better than me, but I would imagine they want to see you not necessarily, run against the clock, but to compete against other guys, I would think, to actually get out there and race and see how you respond to that.
Yeah, a lot of running. Benson tells me this all the time. It's not necessarily about the clock, it's about getting the win
Right.
Against a certain athlete. And that was the case at state. I didn't run a very good time.
Right.
But
and that was to be expected because the course was still about half underwater.
Mm-hmm.
But and it came down to you and Kayla Brown from Shelby. And Cade, you and I talked about this last week. How is it that cross country in Richland County is? I mean, we're a hotbed for cross country. I mean,
yeah.
It seems to me like it's kind of completely crazy that we happen to be the best area in the state for cross country.
Yeah, I don't know what trends that's coming from or what. But speaking on behalf of Lexington, everyone knows Coach Benson and what
Right.
she does. So I think that's part of the reason why Richland County is so highlighted on the map. And our program, we've gone to state for a long, long time now. So she can keep that going.
Tell us a little bit about her as a coach. Like, what is it that influences you all so much to be as good as you guys have been for so long?
You know, she cares about every athlete. You could be the slowest, you could be the fastest. She's going to ask you how you feeling, you hurt, what's your mileage at. And another good thing is most coaches just give you a workout and you go do it. She's a math teacher at Lexington, so she's got numbers. You got to hit these times. And, I mean, she cares about that athlete so much, which, I mean, to see her care for us makes us want it that much more. So just an amazing coach, and I couldn't be happier to be coached by her for 4 years.
You and Caleb went back and forth in the postseason. I think he won the district or sectional district. I think it's sectional district, state, and cross country. Nonetheless, he won the first one at Guy, and you got him the next 2 times. I mean, and you know, Cade was talking about how maybe there's some trash talking in football. I would imagine there's probably not trash talking in cross country.
It's really not, especially when you're racing. You know,
right.
You're just, I want to finish. But yeah, I mean, it's all friendly competition.
And you know, I talked to you guys both about it. It seems like, I mean, you both want to see each other do well, just maybe not when you're running head to head against each other.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
Right. Well, good. I think we've touched on just about everything I had hoped to. We certainly appreciate you guys coming down here on a Sunday afternoon, no less. And again, congratulations to Cade, Mr. Football, and to Kyle, the newly crowned Division II state cross country champ. This is West 4th and Goal for the final time this year. Signing off. So long. West 4th and Goal is a part of the Richland Source Podcast Network and is edited by Noah Jones with music by Taj Torrance. We'd like to thank all the athletes who spent an evening with us during the season. I'm your host, Kurt Conrad, and we'll be back next season. Thanks for listening.